Back in the old days, there was this program called Layaway, where you can go into like a store and start making payments on something, some high-dollar ticket item, and once you paid that off every month, it was yours. You could take it home. That's how I bought my first deer rifle from the Marine Corps PX on Camp Lejeune in North Carolina, and it was the first weapon that I bought that I purchased myself. It wasn't a hand-me-down. It wasn't my dad's. It wasn't anything like that. So I went and I picked out this 30-06, and I just didn't have a lot of money, and so I did the layaway program, but I needed a scope on it, and the cheaper scopes were all sold out, and so I bumped up to like this entry-level Leupold scope and put that on the layaway program and had them all, put the whole package together for me and all that. Made the payments and finally got to bring it home. Ever since then, almost every rifle I've owned has had a Leupold scope. In fact, I'm having a custom rifle built this year, and it's going to have the Leupold Mark 5 HD scope on it. I just killed a buffalo with that scope. It's a really great product. And Leupold, guys, you know them. Everybody knows Leupold. They've been around since like 1907. They started as like a special instrument company or something like that. But these American-made products are fantastic. Whether you're looking for a spotter, binos, a rifle scope, accessories, tripods, bipods, all that kind of stuff. You can find it all at Leupold.com. And I'd really appreciate if you supported this American company that has a great American story. And I couldn't be a bigger fan of a company. And I'm so happy and thrilled that they've chosen to partner with the Western Huntsman. Thanks to Leupold, and thanks to you guys for supporting our great sponsors. American-made products are the name of the game for me and the Western Huntsman. I really will go out of my way and spend more money to buy things that are American-made and keeps jobs and things like that right here in the United States of America. That brings us to Vantage Point Archery. If you haven't listened yet, wherever you listen to your podcast at, go find episode 201, Vantage Point Archery with Ryan Corkwell and Jeff Stringer. Those are the founders of Vantage Point Archery, and these are great dudes. They'll give you a lot of the insight and information that you need on picking out your broadhead for this season. Don't wait any longer, guys, because season is going to be here before we know it. It's almost here. I am going to be shooting the VPA Omega with bleeders for this elk season. They have the single bevels, 2-blade, 3-blades. These are great broadheads. They're American-made. They're tried and true. They're tested. I've been shooting them all summer. Really impressed with this company, and I couldn't be happier having them as a sponsor on this show. Happy to partner with them. Thanks, guys. There exists a threat, from anti-hunting groups to politicians trying to give our land away, and we won't stand for it. Those vast western landscapes provide the space for our wildlife to thrive and a place for hunters and anglers to fuel the fire that sparks their soul. In this show, we share our love of hunting, fishing, and conservation. Here, we provide the foundation to meet these threats through passion and the grit of the American outdoorsman. Welcome to the Western Huntsman Podcast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the Western Huntsman Podcast. This is Jim Huntsman, your host, coming at you from the Broken Tine studio right here in Northwest Montana, and brought to you by Eastman's Hunting Journals. Guys, thanks for tuning in. I got my buddy Steve Johnson here sitting in the studio with me, which is my favorite way to do these podcasts. I like having people face-to-face and like in person. It just seems to flow better, and the sound quality is better. So, and Steve is a return guest, and somebody I've hunted with. We've been friends a long time. How long have we been friends now? Long time.
Gosh, 6 or 7 years now.
6 or 7 years. I'm going to turn your mic back up. Say that again.
6 or 7 years
now.
There
we go. Now we're picking up. See, I'm still monkeying around with this dadgum thing, figuring it out, but now we can at least
Sounds
hear you.
good now.
You can hear yourself, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're live in person right here in the Broken Tine studio. We've got some ice-cold Coors Lights flowing, and I thought it'd be cool to bring Steve up here and just have a good old-fashioned talk about hunting and tell everybody a little bit about what you're doing and setting up and some of the things you're starting here in the hunting space, if you will.
Yeah, so Jim's giving me lessons right now because I'm starting at THF it's a podcast, and then we're gonna do YouTube too. Kind of collaborating with my cousin and some other friends like Jim and Tyler Oaks, Jacob Denham. Trying to get everybody on it.
Yeah.
So
you guys are gonna, like, when you say YouTube, you're talking about hunting videos, right?
Hunting videos and fishing videos and stuff.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably gonna be doing a little more of the fishing stuff than the hunting stuff.
I don't know why, man.
But definitely like archery elk hunting.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, Steve and I, like I said, we've done some podcasts, but Steve is one of the best elk callers I've ever gone hunting with. How many bulls did you call in that one day for me? That it was like 4 at least, right?
Well, 2 at the one spot.
Yeah, the first early morning.
You were kind of going up. That bull was kind of over the ridge from us, and you were up in front of me, and I held back a little bit, and that one came in out of nowhere.
Yeah,
ran us over.
I didn't even see
he
that
was just in and gone before I could even say, "Hey, there's an elk." So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, he came in when I was turned around looking at you, and all of a sudden I saw your face, and I'm like, "Oh, he must see something."
Yeah.
When I turned around, that bull was gone.
Yeah, he came out of left field. We didn't even know he was there because he never bugled or nothing. That was a silent.
Yeah, he was just a quiet guy. But there was that other one that was bugling further up kind of the ridge around that bowl.
Yeah.
Thing, and that's what we were going for when that little guy snuck in.
Yeah, and he was fired up. That bull was really fired up. That was a lot of fun. I remember that morning because I'd been hunting in there quite a bit that year, and I'd gotten into that same group of elk just on where that 100-year-old wallow is that we call.
Yeah, where that. Yeah,
and I think it was like 2 days later, you and I went up. And we kind of parked in a saddle where you could kind of hear both sides because we weren't sure. The first spot we stopped at to bugle, it didn't produce anything.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, if we got down to that saddle, we could hear down into the 100-year-old wallow and then the other side too.
Yep.
And we heard that first bull that morning up off that side.
And he was way out there. But it was barely sun up.
Yeah. So we just started hiking and yeah, it was a hell of a day.
I've been in there a couple times. I've gotten some action in there since you and I went in there, but nothing like that day.
No,
because after those first 2, there was some other random, I don't know, bull that kind of chimed in. What did we get to? Like about noon, we get back to the bottom, and it's all that alder brush. Remember? Yeah. And you and I it's like kind of that time when it's like, well, let's head back to the truck and go, re-figured this out or whatever, and so we're just talking like normal. Right. We're not even trying to be quiet, and we're like, holy crap, man, look at all this whitetail sign down here. There's like giant rubs everywhere, and so we're like coming up with a game plan to hunt whitetail in there, and all of a sudden that bull starts chuckling or whatever
I think he full out bugled.
Did he full? I can't even remember.
I think we were sitting there talking and that bull just let out a scream.
Yeah,
and we were like, he's right there. So it was just a rush to get set up at that point. And so you stayed down in the creek bottom. I think you got off to one side of the creek.
I did. I got on the opposite side. Well, we were going to go on the side he was on, but remember the thermals had just changed, started going up. So we switched and wanted to pull them across that bottom. And there was all that alder brush down there.
Yeah.
Thick as fleas, but you dropped way up or hiked way up that hill and started calling. Well, when I say way up, 60, 70 yards behind me. And you were like beating logs and freaking making all that crazy sound, all those crazy sounds. I'm hoping you can show us some of that here because you got your calls in front of you.
Yeah. No. And then I'm sitting up there on the hill and I look across the creek and I see him coming out. He was he was going down the creek opposite side from you. Yeah. And it was really thick tag alder. And I think he hooked kind of to the left of you, and he might have crossed the creek and got on that trail. And I think he caught the thermals going down because in the creek it was pulling down. Yep. And then that's why we thought, oh, we got this because the prevailing wind was great where we were at. Yeah. But then when we started going up towards him, it was like those thermals were just pulling up the hill towards him like crazy. And we're like, oh, we'll bust them out. So we got back on the other side. I'm kind of I don't know how, looking back on it now, I think if you were right in the creek.
Yeah, if I would have stayed there, that would have been a dead bull.
Yeah.
Because what happened when you went up and started calling him, I could tell he was coming. I mean, you could hear him coming, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm like, man, it was such thick alder that I was worried that I wasn't going to get a shot. And so I kind of got some elevation on the other side, thinking that I could kind of overlook this spot where I assumed he came in.
Yeah.
But anytime you're calling in a bull and you make an assumption as to where you think they're going to come,
it's always the opposite.
It's always somewhere else. And like you had eyes on this bull, and I couldn't see him. He came like to my left, and I was thinking he was coming in front of me, and I never did see that bull.
And you were probably only 30 yards.
Oh, yeah. It had to be, because when I walked back down there after he buggered out, we saw those tracks.
Yeah.
Dude, he came right where we were standing. I think that's what buggered him out is he came right where, like he smelled us where we were standing before, and he's like, well, I'm out of here.
Man, and that's the thing. It's like in the moment when it happens that quick, and they're right on top of you, making those split second decisions. Where do we go? Mm-hmm. Where do we set up? It's like you're kind of scatterbrained for a sec.
I know. And I always hate
really
that.
all have you, if you think about it, you have all the time in the world.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know you're there yet.
Yeah.
And so that's something I've tried to start working on a lot more, is just like, hey, take a breath, think about it, process it. Let's
think it through.
We've got time to play this out and get in the right spot to make the scenario work the best for our situation, instead of rushing it. And I think
even that's not 100% thing.
No, it's not.
But most of the time, you have more time than you think, right?
Right.
Kind of like that time. I thought we had some more time, and I always hate the shoulda, coulda, woulda thoughts after. Like I kind of always go through that in my mind. It's like, man, if I would have just done this, or if we would have moved over there, or if made this call, that call, or whatever. But to your point, there was one time that I thought I had time when I bugled, and he answered me. I thought I had a few minutes before he was actually going to show himself. I didn't, man. I had like 20 seconds. He was on top of me. And that's when, that was a few years ago. I was trying to film that hunt. You were talking about that camera on your shoulder strap on your pack. Yeah. Mine, because I'd gone through that tag alder, had pushed it down. And so when I drew back to kill this bull, my string got caught in the camera, and I was screwed. And the bull saw me, and he heard me cussing.
Oh yeah,
I'm like, God damn it, this camera! And
was that the big one with the drop tine?
Yeah, he had the drop tine on his left side, and I've never been that close to a big bull like that. Like, I mean, he was a big sucker, big old herd bull. And I done pissed him off, man. I got right up at he would sit this whole herd, they would lay down in the middle of the day on top of this round hill where the wind would swirl, so it was super tricky to get up there without getting winded. And I've made a play on that particular herd like multiple times, and I've never killed a bull up there. But I've gotten really close multiple times, and that was the closest.
Yeah, man.
So anyway,
it's so fun. It's just that. When they're screaming like that addiction, it's just...
I know.
Ugh.
It's just, I
look forward to it every year, man. It's just...
Yeah. The endless learning curve that it is, the endless, like, trials and tribulations that come out of elk hunting, that it's just never a... we always come up with these theories where we think, oh, okay... this consistent thing always happens during a call-in, for example. Is your headphone giving you a hard time again?
It's good now.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah, I just got to hold still.
Sorry, man. You got the cheap ones. I'm not going to lie. Those are the cheap. I rarely have an in-person guest, so I haven't invested the money in better headphones yet.
No, this is good. It's all new.
What do you think of the Broken Time Studio?
I love it. This is awesome.
Jam-packed. It's like our catch-all for the house remodel right now. So there's boxes over there. Pretty cool drum set over there, right?
Yeah. I used to play the drums.
Oh, well, there you go, man. Go give us a tutorial.
I don't think I could remember how to do it. I'd probably hit my finger trying.
Yeah, I probably would too. But
yeah, right.
One day, man, when maybe next time you come up here, I don't know. It depends, because like this is the lowest priority room. But maybe next time you come up here, this room is going to be pretty badass. I'm going to do that like corrugated metal on the bottom and then, painted walls up above.
Yeah,
and,
it'll look
and
sweet.
I'll deck this thing out.
It'll look really sweet.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So
Are you gonna do like a rusty corrugated metal?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah?
I want it like super rustic in here.
Yeah.
The problem with the corrugated metal when you're doing it in a studio is it can be a little echoey. And so I've got to be careful with how much of that I put up. So I was thinking halfway up the wall, but I think I'm only going to do like 3 feet so that when we're sitting recording, it's above, the microphones are like above that metal that'll catch up all that, or catch all that echoey sound, because it'll happen.
And then put carpet on the walls.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Just a bunch of, what I need are a bunch of bear rugs. Bear rugs are great at dampening the sound.
You've got spots in here for that mountain lion.
I know, that's kind of, you know, so me and Steve are talking about that because the lion I just killed, if you guys follow along on Instagram, I just killed a huge tom yesterday.
Massive.
Like I will never in my life kill a tom like this again. He is 150 plus pounds,
yeah.
you know. And so, in my opinion, has always been like these dudes that talk about, oh, I saw a 200-pound tom. I call kind of BS on that.
Yeah, I do too. I don't believe it.
I don't believe it. I've never seen one that big, but
I know a couple people that are legit guys that have been hound hunting a long time, and one of the guys, I just know him through another friend, but he's actually got weight receipts.
Oh, really?
From the old Safeway. He'd go weigh it, get this receipt, and he's actually got a couple 200-pounders. But
Really?
You're talking about a guy that's been doing it for 50-plus years.
See, and that's what I was thinking because the guy that I was hunting with, Rob, he's a guy I guide with up at Elk Creek Outfitters there. I mean, this guy is fanatical about lion hunting. And, I mean, his license plates say lion hunter.
Yeah.
You know, so he's fanatical about hunting lion. And he was telling me, he's like, you know, I see these guys all the time post on you know, social media or whatever, and they're like, oh, it's a 200-pound cat, and I just, he's like, I don't believe it. It's there, and he could look at him and he just knows. But anyway, getting back to this is the cat I killed yesterday. I'll probably never kill a cat that big again. I'd be like super lucky. You know, in my opinion, it's like the equivalent of somebody getting a 380, you know, class bull elk, and like it's kind of a once in a lifetime deal, you know, unless you're able to go hunt some of these ranches that, you know, those kind of bulls are super common. But I'm talking about like a public land bull. Not necessarily once in a lifetime, but I think everybody is kind of smelling when I'm stepping here.
Yeah,
because
it doesn't come regularly.
It doesn't. It's not a regular thing,
right?
And lion hunting is not like elk hunting from the sense of you just, you know, are so good you find only the big cats. So it's not like that. It was the luck of the draw. You know, I had the tag. I went out with Rob. He's got the hounds. And the tracks we found, in fact, we treed a female the day before that gave us a slip, and I would have shot her if we'd have caught up to it. But she gave us a slip, and I'm glad she did because we went out the next morning, which was yesterday morning, and we found those big prints or those big tracks. And I don't know, hour later we had it treed. Took me like an hour to hike into where it was because he was way up on the steep, you know, face. And I got him, and so it's just kind of a luck of the draw kind of deal with the size. But I must be living right, man, because it's a big cat.
Yeah,
so.
You are. Well, that's the thing too. It's like with cat hunting in general, it's a lot of time.
Yeah,
I mean those guys, the really good hound hunters, they're dedicated. They don't do anything else. They might get out for an elk hunt here and there, but they're not like their number one priority is getting their dogs out.
Yeah, and that's how like Bradley Damerman, he's been on the show a few times. He owns Idaho Whitetail Guides over there in kind of north central Idaho. Mm-hmm. And like if you follow his not Facebook, Instagram, it is like 90% hounds chasing either bears or lions or some kind of cat. He did a lot of bobcat hunting. In fact, him and his daughter just got a nice bobcat. But you know, that's pure dedication because that style of hunting is such a different like way of life. It's a lifestyle in itself because you've got to take care of the hounds all year. You've got to do get those hounds and keep them exercised, keep those hounds trained up, keep them healthy, and get them out there so that they know what they're doing. And I tell you what, man, I have never seen a dog more happy than when those hounds get on a lion track. Like, that's what they live for, man. It's amazing.
Like a freaking light switch.
Oh,
they just snap.
Yeah, they're so committed to their trade.
Yeah.
These dogs, like humans, can learn a lot from these dogs.
Yeah.
So anyway, the whole point with that is Steve and I were just in the house trying to convince my wife to do a full body mount. My wife's not too hip on the idea because she doesn't really care for taxidermy much. That's why it's all out here, And she wants one of these, and these aren't even the big deer. Some of the other Euro mounts I've got, she likes those. But you think she'd let that wild boar, that big Russian boar up there? She won't let that in the house anymore.
Probably
not. That's Hillary, man. I killed that in 1999.
That's super cool. I would hang that in my house.
Oh, I know. I would too. I'm worried she's going to sabotage it, like knock the vacuum into the wall really hard to knock it down and break all the teeth out or something, Man. But anyway, if you guys have any tips as to how to convince your wife to do a full body mount on a lion, I think you actually made a really good point. There's plenty of room out here to put that lion.
Oh, yeah. I could see it. You could just start doing video podcasts. And you could have it stuck up there on the wall right there.
Yeah, right there in the corner.
That would look really cool. Be a great backdrop, man.
Yeah. Tell everybody, like, your place, man. I don't know if I've ever seen more taxidermy. Like, your living room, you have to be careful where you sit on the couch because there's antlers everywhere.
I know. It's my wife.
I love it.
I've got a great wife. She's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
She lets me get away with a lot.
Yeah, she's cool. Well, it helps that she's way into that stuff.
She
too,
is. Yeah. She really loves it. But yeah, it's getting a little tight, to say the least. Yeah.
Don't you have a shop? Do you have a shop?
I don't. Not yet.
I thought you had a shop.
I'd like to.
Because you're gonna have to get something.
I need to get a house, a bigger house.
Well, I mean, there's something to that.
Get
you a bigger
brand
house.
New baby on the way.
Yeah, you do, man. When is the baby due again?
March 2nd.
March 2nd. So you're going to have a springtime baby.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have, I don't know, it's okay when they're newborns to be in tight quarters, but I'm thinking by, late summer, you're going to want to put some kind of
like an addition on or something.
Something. I mean, if nothing else, but for the taxidermy in there.
Yeah. A room for the mounts.
I love that one that you've got that bear that looks like it's about to attack you.
Yeah, that was Stacy's first bear.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that.
That was her first solo hunt.
Yeah.
And we set up a bait. So her and I went in. I used to run a lot of baits in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
And I would run tree stands on all my baits. Well, I got her up and I had a double tree stand set up.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, we'll go into this one and we'll sit right next to each other. It'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Can kind of coach her through it. She got up in the tree stand and was not having it. She does not like tree stands.
Really?
So I had to come up with a new plan. And
is it a heights thing?
It's a heights thing, yeah.
So
on that spot, if you can imagine, you look off to your right and you can see the dirt.
Yeah.
But then you look off to your left and it feels like you're 50, 60 feet in the air.
Yeah.
So
she didn't like
She'd
that.
look left and she didn't like it.
I don't blame her.
So I had to help her get down out of the tree stand, and then we came up with a different solution. I built her a ground blind, and she hiked down in there and sat in her ground blind and shot that bear.
That's awesome. I've been like my fondness, I guess is a word, for ground blinds is growing a lot.
It's fun.
I'm kind of like Stacy, where I don't want to be up in a tree.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I feel uncomfortable, and I don't really like it. But the ground blind is really nice for when you're going out there and you want to sit, and there's something to being in that ground blind that kind of, I swear it keeps the scent fairly contained.
Uh-huh.
And it keeps the rain off you. It keeps the wind off you. And you can look around and not worry about being spotted from the movement. And so I've been packing in ground blinds to a lot of new spots. especially when I'm guiding. I was packing them in, and I'd set my hunter up in one, and then I had like a little one-man one. I'd go a little behind him, and I'd set up in that one. And because you're packing them in, I didn't want to pack big, heavy ones,
Have you thought about running like an ozonics in a ground blind?
No, not really. My buddy Shane Mowry, he swears by those ozonic things. I've never tried them.
Uh-huh.
And so, is that thing just failing you, dude? You keep messing with it. I feel
every once
kinda,
in a while, it just
my
right side goes out.
What if we tried? I just put. Is this cord long enough? Because I think it's a cord thing. Hold on, folks. I'm gonna pause it real quick. Okay, we're back, folks. Unfortunately, we were unable to fix the headphone issue over here, but we're gonna just roll with it. Hell with it.
So how was your elk season?
Dude, it was basically mostly ruined through work. And so it started out really good. I went out. It was like that first week. Started getting some action towards the end of the week. And I had this big job start down in Coeur d'Alene. And so I had to be on that job site for the first week at least. Quite a bit, and so that kind of ruined it. That was like September 9th when that job started, and then the job turned into a big nightmare. And so I'm like constantly having to go down there. So every time I made plans to go hunt, I'd have to go check this roof and deal with material issues and customer issues. And this guy was such an asshole, the customer. I don't even want to get into that part of it. And
yeah,
I never.
I think
say
we
that
talked about this guy, right?
We did. Yeah. He is on the do not communicate with for my company. So other than that, I had a couple of days of really good action, and sent an arrow on one really nice bull. Missed him. Arrow ran short, and then I kind of took a break from that, and then started when guiding season started real hot and heavy in November. I actually surprisingly got into a lot of elk in November. And so that the rare thing for me is to see more elk in November than I do in September, but that's what happened this year. I ended up seeing a lot of bulls and finding a lot of elk, and some really good bucks this year, man. Some really good bucks.
I heard you had some nice ones bed down right in front of you.
Oh yeah. And that was, I don't even know if I've told that story on the podcast.
I think you did. That's where I heard it. Yeah. I was listening to one of your episodes and you were talking, I think the guy you went bear hunting with.
Yeah, so I took Kevin.
Yeah.
I took Kevin up there, and we had. It was funny because when I took Kevin up there, we were bear hunting, and I had the Idaho A tag, and the B rifle season was open, and so I couldn't shoot those elk that came walking through the bait barrel.
Yeah,
and there was a couple of nice bulls in there, and then they kind of meander off, and so I'm thinking as soon as A tag rifle started, because I didn't tag out during archery season. I go back up there in the ground blind because I'm telling you about the ground blind situation. Yep. A-tag season opens. I go up there, no elk, but like two of the biggest freaking whitetail I've ever seen on public land bed down 50 yards in front of me, and I've got a rifle. I mean, I could have put a blindfold on and killed these bucks,
Gosh.
But I did not have my Idaho deer tag. I only had the elk tag, and so all I could do was just sit there and watch them. But no exaggeration, man, 150-ish. Plus,
nice bucks
on one of those.
That's so
he
cool.
Was, like when I first saw it, I got super excited thinking it was a bull coming in because that's how wide those antlers were, those tips, and then obviously it came into view, and I'm like, oh, well, that's a whitetail. That's not happening.
Man,
yeah,
got some good self-control.
Yeah. I know it's hard too, man, to have that self-control because I'm not the kind of guy that's going to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. I was not far from the Montana border. It would have been pretty easy for me to knock one of those bucks down and drag it across the border and be like, oh, look what I got.
Yeah.
And throw my Montana tag on it. But I don't know. I probably would have done that when I was younger. I'm not going to lie. I totally would have done that.
I probably would have done it too.
But... you get older and wiser and things make more sense and some things make less sense. And so I had some self-control and discipline.
Comes with age.
I'll bet you, because of the time of year that happened, I'll bet you those bucks lived and they're going to be bigger next year.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're going to be like Troy Potner status.
Were they in velvet?
No, this was late October.
Okay.
Yeah, this is late October, hard-horned. They were just coming into where they start kind of sparring with each other because the rut's coming. This is literally, I think it was like 2 or 3 days before Halloween.
Okay.
Right? And so in fact, they sparred a little bit with each other for a minute, and then they bedded down together. So they were like still buddies, but still kind of, filling each other out for who's going to be the king on the mountain there. And I'll bet you a week later, one of them chased the other one off, and they started chasing does. And so that was just a time of year. But, yeah, it was cool, man. You just don't see whitetail bucks of that caliber on public land very often.
Not often at all.
Unless you're Troy Pottinger.
Right.
And so... This whole dive into copper bullets has been fascinating for me, and you guys should check it out. Go to barnesbullets.com and have a look at the website and check out these bullets. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I found with them. But what they talk about is, like since 1989, they've been engineering the most technologically advanced hunting bullets and ammunition on the planet. And the more I shoot these suckers, the more I tend to believe it. They're manufactured here in the USA. In fact, their facility is down by my dad's ranch in central Utah. And what I've found is they really do create a little bit better penetration. They expand on impact, so the blood trails are quite a bit larger, and they do a little bit more damage, putting that animal down a little, faster. It's a way. In fact, on their website it says produce massive wound channels even in dense, thick-skinned game, and that is true. I found that to be true for sure. Check them out, and check out the episode I did with Barnes. So it's 191 with Mitch Cookson, and he gets into great detail about how these bullets are designed and why they're better. Definitely worth some consideration. Go to barnesbullets.com, have a look for yourself, make a decision, let me know what you think. See ya. Yeah,
and cool. That's what he dedicates his time to.
Man.
That's his all.
He finds bucks like that, and then finds their sheds in the winter. And then he figures out where they're living on the mountain. Well, you've been to his course.
Yeah.
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 And so he's just an animal. That buck he killed this year is like, when I first saw that picture, it's like, I'm almost not impressed because I thought maybe he went to one of those farms where they, high fence raise them and give them all those weird hormone injections or whatever antler growth feed and all that. And then I saw that it was Troy. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not Troy's style. And I looked at the post and read it, and no, that was a public land monster whitetail buck that he just smoked with his bow. And it was actually earlier in the season for him. Usually he gets them in like that last week in November, first week of December.
Yeah, when we went to the class, he was talking about how he liked the end of the end of season, that late archery season a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does a good job with that.
Yeah.
And so just a smoker. I'll bet you that had to be. I mean, what do you think? Was that pretty close to a 200 class buck?
Gosh, I don't know.
I mean,
I'm not the best at judging them from a picture, but I'd say it's
true.
Well over 160s.
Oh yeah, absolutely over. It's
probably
160.
170s.
It was
I don't know. You kind of have to ask him.
They were. I could tell from the pictures the tines were a bit longer than those big bucks that I saw, and the one big buck that I saw was 150, 160ish, somewhere in that range, and Troy's buck was bigger. That I think he ended up with.
It's been a while since I've seen the picture of it, but I think it was really wide too. I think it was
super wide.
It was a nice, really wide buck.
Yeah,
sweet buck.
What about your season, man? How'd your season pan out?
Elk season was the best elk season I've had in a long time.
In terms of vocal elk, or what do you mean?
Yeah, vocal elk, getting into elk, it was phenomenal this last year. Yeah, I had a hoot. I think I called in almost 18 bulls.
Really?
19 bulls.
Nice.
And got shots off on a lot of bulls. I missed a bull opening weekend.
It makes me feel better because I missed a bull, and knowing that you missed a bull makes me feel better about myself.
I was calling for a buddy, and it was like that one day we were up there together. I was calling, similar scenario.
Yeah.
And I'm focused on him and the bull out in front of him, and I could see that bull, and he was really nice heavy 6.
Uh-huh.
And I hear a branch snap off to my right, and I look over, and there's a spike standing there. And I'm like, well, I can call and shoot an elk at the same time. So I just knocked one. I kind of guessed the yardage because he had me pinned. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I was
He knew you were there.
I was wide open, but I was far enough back from my buddy. You know, I was focused on the other elk. So
Yeah.
I knocked an arrow, guessed him for 40, shot right under him.
Oh, dang.
So he was a little further, which I don't know. I have a hard time when they get out past a certain.
I know, me too, man. That because I did the same thing on that bull that I shot at, and I would have like sworn an oath that thing was 40 yards. But when I ranged it after he buggered off, he was north of 50.
And I wonder if that's just because of how thick our woods is we're not used to seeing those 40-yard shots all the time.
Could be.
Like most of the time, it's 10 to 15.
It could be because I think I can. What's weird is elk are so freaking big. But when you hit like that 35, 40-yard range, the size difference, like you know how a bull looks way closer at 20 yards than it does at 30 yards?
Yeah.
That becomes less dramatic the further out it gets. So like 50 yards can easily look like 40 yards. And that's just kind of what I don't know. I tried to make all sorts of excuses in my head as to why I missed.
Well, that's what I was looking at your target. When we went out and walked Jim's range, and he was showing me his 3D range, and he's got a quarter. What did you say? It was a quarter?
Yeah, it's like a quarter size elk, bull elk.
So at 20 yards, it's the same size as if that bull was out at 40.
Yeah.
In full scale.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool to see that, because we were about 20 yards, and I was looking at that, and I was like, okay, I can see that. That
could be that. I just think the size difference, close versus far, gets less dramatic between a 10-yard or a 10-yard spread. If I'm saying this right, I don't know if I'm saying this right. Anyway,
like in 10-yard increments.
Yeah, in 10-yard increments, it's like okay, that is definitely, when I see a bull at 20 yards, that is definitely 20 yards. When I see it at 25 yards, that is definitely 25.
I got what you're saying.
30 is definitely 30, and that size between 20 and 30 is pretty dramatic. And then, but when you get to like 40 and 50, that size difference becomes less dramatic, and so it's harder to field gauge, and that's where the rangefinder comes into play. And mine like failed me that day. I could not get a range on that bull. I could not get it. If I would have had a range on him, I could have killed him. But I just, for some reason, my rangefinder could not pick up that bull. And I think I was trying to shoot the range through the brush because I was kind of hiding, a little bit. So anyway, excuses.
Yeah. Oh, I've got plenty of them too. Yeah. The next one I called in for myself. I was sitting at camp. I'd just gotten back from a morning hunt, and we were sitting at camp, and I heard him down in a wallow below camp. And his bugle, I mean, when he bugled, it sounded like he was 15, 20 yards, just screaming in your face. And he was...
You were at camp?
I was at camp.
Was it the same camp that I stayed with you guys at that one time?
Yeah, so if you imagine the backside down below there.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounded like he was just, where the porterhouse is.
Yep.
Yeah, so it sounded like he was just maybe 20, 30 yards behind that thing, just screaming.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, shoot. So I got up real quiet, got my bow, got all my stuff. My brothers went with me, and we started hiking down the hill and just kept going further and further and further. And then we got to a point where I'm like, man, this guy, he must be in the bottom. And then I could hear him splashing in that wallow, and he just kept carrying on. So,
really?
Yeah, I just
So there is a wallow back there.
There's a big wallow down there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And
you shouldn't have told me that, man. Now
now you know. Well, so let's back up a second. Earlier in the season, I took my son down there. He wanted to go bear hunting. And I had a camera down there that it's been down there for 2 years or something like that. I think about 2 years. And I was like, well, yeah, we can walk down there, and then if we can sit on that wallow, and if you see a bear, you could shoot it. He's 10 years old.
Sure.
He just wanted to get out and go for a walk. Same thing, like 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So a buddy asked, he's like, hey, can I tag along with you guys? Yeah, so we hiked down there, and I go up to that wallow, grab the camera off of it, check the card. There's like 16 pictures on it for 2 years.
Really?
Yeah. That's discouraging.
Yeah.
You're sitting there like 2 years, and that's it? Like, this spot's not worth our time. My son looks at me and goes, Dad, we need to sit here for an hour. Junior, 10 years old, or 11 years old, sorry.
Yeah.
Dad, we need to sit an hour. Let's just see what happens. Give it an hour. I'm like, all right. We'll give it an hour. 10 minutes later, I hear a crunch on my right. Out comes Yogi.
Really?
No shit. He walks out across the creek, starts coming down right in front of us, gets 30 yards from us out front. And I don't know how. I'll just keep telling this, I guess. But I get him set up. He's anchored good.
Get a little closer.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
So I got him anchored. I'd been coaching him. He'd been shooting this 30-30. That's what he has. He's got a Winchester model 94 30-30.
Sweet. That's what I killed that cat with yesterday.
Yeah, they're awesome little guns.
Love it.
Bear gets 30 yards. He's anchored. He cracks the shot off. Bear drops. Like,
oh yeah, you told me this story. Now it's coming back.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
So this thing drops, and I'm like, done. Good job, dude.
Yeah.
And he starts freaking out. I start freaking out. My buddy starts freaking out. We're all just celebrating. We're like, yeah, ready to start drinking beer and partying after this. You know, it's done. We're getting all of our gear packed up, and I get my pack on. I look over across the creek at the bear. He gets up.
Oh no.
And this has been like 5 minutes.
And
I see this bear get up, and he starts walking off. And
like he's not shitting into getting. He's just kind of walking
just kind of walking off.
Really?
And so I tried to get a shot off on him and couldn't. And then I guess this is where I'm probably messed up. Is I got a new pistol. I got a 454 Casull. That's my new carry gun. Because I showed you, we have some grizzlies hanging out around camp.
I posted that one grizz that was like sleeping under your bait barrel.
Yeah. And then
the thing was huge.
You had gotten some collar data from a bear.
Yeah.
That had been going around through camp there and stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of getting more frequent in that area. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to step up from a 45. I don't know anything about it other than my buddy in Alaska, Grenda.
Yeah.
That's what they use. Is the 454 Casull. So I thought that's the gun I want to get.
I know. I always think that too. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me.
Yeah.
I do a 10 mil with those G9 Grizzly rounds. And the thing is I've never had to shoot a grizzly bear charging at me, so I have no idea what'll work. But
so that's the problem I have too.
Yeah.
I've never experienced having to put a bear down with the 45. Usually if I get them a good shot with my bow, they go down. But I've never had to self-defense shoot something.
Yeah, me neither.
And I don't even know how I'm going to react in that situation. If the 454 is too much, I've shot it. But I don't know. I don't know. It's just,
and there's like it's weird too because like Ranella's podcast, the Meat Eater, I listened to that episode. He had that bear expert on or whatever. He like studied grizzly bears.
Okay.
And he would go in and like have to do investigations after like a grizz attack kind of thing and relocate bears and all this. It's a good episode, actually.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah,
so
you
it's
should.
not like a hippie Timothy Treadwell kind of guy.
No. It's not like that at all. The dude, he just, it was his job. And anyway, he goes, he actually, when Steve asked him if he would carry a pistol versus bear spray, he was like, no, bear spray. And I just can't wrap my mind around that.
See, I've heard that so much more. And to me, it makes sense because say the bear's coming at you and you've got it, say in your bino harness or something, you kind of just fog the area before he charges you. So he's getting contact in a bigger area.
Yeah. You're creating like a wall.
Right. That's what I'm getting out of it. But see, I'd be the guy that would freaking go to grab something out of my bino harness, trip the bear mace, spray my face.
Yourself.
That's just the kind I'm just that.
And that's kind of what Steve's argument was too, a little bit, because he said that they're not super trustworthy. They can get ripped off or whatever. Or you like go to grab them out of the pack and they start spraying everything. And he was saying like once you spray your pack with that bear spray,
it's never. You just might as well throw it away.
Yeah. And I've been sprayed, not by bear spray. I got sprayed when you're in the Marines and do the non-lethal training. That's part of it. You have to get sprayed in the face.
And I can't imagine it's
freaking
fun.
Sucks, dude.
Yeah.
Like it's bad. And so it was just interesting hearing that from that guy that has so much experience around bears. And, people get in these kind of tribes about, okay, I'm a bear spray guy, and the other side is, oh, I'm a pistol guy, and we have to fight about this.
Right.
Why can't you carry both?
Right.
Like, my thought is, I think I'm going to start carrying bear spray, like on my pack waist belt right there where it's super easy. I can, like, quick draw, like, Doc Holliday or something, and create that wall, drop the can of bear spray, and take the pistol out. That way it's slowing the bear down, and if the bear chooses to keep coming, you've got a calmer, easier shot.
Yeah.
Hey, Wyatt, we've got Wyatt the dog in the studio tonight. Are you bugging him, buddy?
No, he's just hanging out.
You'd be a good little buckaroo over there, pal. Come here.
See, another thing I think about too, like you're saying you want to keep it on the side of your pack there.
Uh-huh. Well,
like just that scenario, that one elk hunt you and I went in, we ended up in that tag alder down in the bottom of that creek, and how would you not set that off going through that? I mean, I don't know.
It's got the little safety. Yeah, it's got a little safety mechanism on it, and the thing is the little carrier can be pretty tight, and I've been using this Eberly stock modular pack, and I really like it, and I don't know what it is like with the Eberly stocks, but they fit me good, and so. They don't sponsor the show or anything, so This isn't like a plug, but I've run some really expensive packs, and I like all of them. I'm not disparaging any of them, but this Eberly stock, whether it's that T-Milk pack or that this modular, I keep looking for it. I know it's in here. It's got cat blood all over it. Oh, it's over there. Anyway, it's really cool because you can mix and match all the different pouches and put all these different things in. And the way that the waist belt comes around, it's got your little pocket pouch on the side. If I put the bear spray right behind that and the frame, there's nothing that can rub it and like set it off. Okay. But it's still easily accessible. And so that's kind of what my thought is. And
that's a good option.
It is because... Especially now that I'm over here in northwest Montana, there's a lot more grizz over here than there is in North Idaho.
Yeah.
And so like I'll be hunting up just north of us up in those cabinets and up through the Yak and all that, and man, like it's pretty grizz heavy. And so I'm super cautious as to I've always been a little like I'd rather go find bulls where there's no grizzlies, for sure.
Yeah.
But the thing is if there's grizzlies in there, for some reason, the elk numbers are really good. And one of my guiding clients, I took him on the spot. I know it's thick, heavy with grizz. But, man, we found a ton of elk. And the one nice bull he found, it was in a group of 3 bulls, and there was like 6 or 7 cows. And he just could not find that bull in the scope. So that any of you listening that are like thinking about hiring an outfitter or whatever, make sure you know how to find animals in a scope. Like know how to translate looking at an animal 80 yards away or whatever, and translate that to finding them in a scope. What say you? I think you'd make a great guide, man.
Man, that sheep hunt I went on with Travis and Adam and my buddy Scott down in the Middle Fork, just that whole glassing game to me is it's different than anything I've done. I've always hunted this stuff up here, so yeah, I don't I'm not very good when it comes to advice about glassing, but like down there we were glassing till our eyes bled. I mean, it was just you get up in the morning, you get to your glassing knob, you glass.
Those guys that are good at that, like glassing is an art form in itself, and guys like you and I that hunt the jungle up here, we don't have that.
No, we don't.
We don't have that skill like mastered. You know what I mean?
You know who is phenomenal at glassing is Adam Grenda. Like that guy,
he's coming here tomorrow. He's gonna be in the studio tomorrow.
Old vanilla gorilla.
Yeah, the vanilla gorilla. I told him it was pretty funny. I texted him. I'm like, dude, you got to drive like a normal human. You can't land your little airplane here. There's too much brush.
Oh yeah.
And so, yeah, he's coming tomorrow.
Yeah, he was just at my house yesterday picking up some otter hides for Tana.
Sweet.
So
yeah, they've been in town for a while. Which is abnormal for them, but I'm glad they are. So.
Yeah, no, it's been nice catching up and seeing them. I've got to spend a couple weeks with them down on the salmon, and then getting to see them here and there. We went up to dinner with those guys up at their place in Bonners
Yeah, Bonner's Ferry.
Like on the 28th, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Got to see Travis's brown bear mount. And that's something that got me thinking. I mean, these things are huge, right? They're way bigger than our grizzlies around here. But you see the bear like that.
Like, how much do you think those bears weigh in Alaska?
1,000 pounds?
That's kind of what I was thinking.
1,200.
I've heard anywhere from 800 to 1,200 pounds on those. Let's look it up.
Yeah, you got to check it out. But I was sitting there next to that bear, and my head, when I'm standing next to that bear, my head doesn't clear its shoulder. And
seriously,
granted, like, it's up on a mount, you know, it's up on a, I don't know, it's like 6-inch table or something, I guess, pedestal.
Really?
And they got it. Yeah, it's a really cool mount. But I was looking at the bear, just like, what would I do if this thing was running at me?
Okay, so
Would I think about shooting it, or?
This says the weight of an Alaskan brown bear can vary depending on sex, location, and season, but generally ranges from 200 to 1,500 pounds. Like, that's a big range. Come on, what would be an average?
I guess it just depends on where they're at. Maybe?
Alaska Peninsula brown bears are very large, usually ranging in weight from 800 to 1,200 pounds. Okay, so that's the one. Because have you seen? Not to keep talking about Adam, but
no,
Adam and how do you say his wife's name?
Tana.
Okay. Because her page is like Tana Fit or Tanasu Fit. I can't remember.
Tanasu Fit. I
but
think.
I mean, she's just like, she's an animal herself, man. She's a killer, freaking great hunter, and just like a super inspiring human, you know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So her and Adam. And I think it's on Adam's page, they have this picture of them sitting behind that brown bear, because apparently they call them brown bears up there, not grizzly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and I don't know what the difference is, but anyway, he's sitting behind that brown bear, and with her, and I mean, this thing looks like a freaking horse.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just giant. The head,
they're massive.
It's crazy.
It
so
dwarfs
glad.
them.
Yeah.
And Adam's not a small dude.
No, Adam is not a little guy. And it makes him look like that thing can pick him up and toss him to the moon. And it's insanity. So
even like Travis's bear, when you see pictures of Travis next to his bear, I mean, Travis isn't a big or a small dude either. He's big.
Yeah.
He's fairly tall.
Yeah.
I'm 6'1", and I think he's got 3 or 4 inches on me.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm always surprised how tall you are when you come over here.
Man,
you are taller than me.
You make me feel normal. When I go up to hang out with those guys, I feel like the smallest guy in the room.
You feel like a little dude.
Yeah.
Yep. You're the dwarf Steve.
Right.
Coming to visit.
Yeah. So anyways, back to that bear story with my son.
See, we went
off on a tangent.
Sorry
man.
about that.
No, it's good. But this is what's just crazy. There's so many things that I did wrong in this that I think about a lot. So, the first thing, I missed the bear. Mm-hmm. Tried to get a shot, missed him. Couldn't get a shot.
After your son had shot, he fell, and then the bear got up and started wandering back away.
Yeah,
okay.
Starts wandering away, goes up the hillside, and I'm thinking in my head, okay, he's got a good hit on him. I get over to where there's a lot of blood. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to just leave you guys here. I'm going to sneak up this blood trail and see if I can catch up and put a couple rounds in with the 454. This is a bear gun, right? You should be able to knock him. Well, I get up there, find him. He's sitting next to a tree, which he probably would have died next to. Mm-hmm. That's my first mistake. It's like, I should have just backed out. We should have sat there and just had a snack, wait him out, give him some time. So I find him. He's sitting next to the tree. I get 10 feet from the bear. Mm-hmm. Pull the pistol out. I put it dead center of his chest, which was mistake number 2.
This was with the 454.
454 Casull.
Jeez.
I shoot him. He balls up and falls over. Gets back up. I hit him dead center chest.
Wow.
I mean, I couldn't miss him. He was from Meteor Drums right here. He was just sitting there.
For you listeners, the drums are about 4 yards away from us.
Yeah. I mean, he was close.
Yeah.
He falls over, gets back up, starts going back up the hill.
Seriously?
Seriously.
That's crazy. See, that makes me wonder if you hit him 4 yards away
Dead
with a
center
454, what is it?
454 Casul. With
Okay.
a 363 grain buffalo bore.
Holy crap, man. So if that was a grizzly coming at you.
Right. Well, that's the thing. If I would have put it on his head, I would have dumped him, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, but you don't want to.
I was...
You want the skull.
Well, and that's kind of selfish thinking.
No,
on my,
I know,
well,
but I'm the same way.
So I do that. Then he's running up the hill. I shoot 2 more times at him. I hit him 1 more time. And I was just aiming for fur at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And he falls over again, gets back up, keeps going up the hill, and disappears off into the brush before I can get another shot off on him.
Jeez, man.
So we looked until midnight. That was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, something like that. And a couple of the guys were back at camp, heard the shooting going on. It sounded western down there. So they came down and caught up with us, and we looked and looked and looked and looked and looked for this bear.
Yeah.
And then I went back in there looking for birds even.
Oh, really?
Never found this bear. So
Wow.
I guess like hindsight, one, I should have just done what I would do with an elk or any other animal that I've shot with, because I'm predominantly archery.
Yeah.
And you just give them time. If you don't see them fall over, give them time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was mistake number 1. Mistake number 2, probably not putting it on his head.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I mean, I think about that scenario. Like if I were in that scenario, I probably would have done the same thing, because my thought would be, okay, this is my son's first bear, and that skull is going to be, a kind of a prized possession.
Right.
You know, especially if you have one of these ham bones. See, we're looking at the dog Wyatt over here. He chewed up one of my bear skulls right after I'd cleaned it all off and got it ready to display.
Dang.
You know?
Yeah.
He freaking stole it and ruined the bottom jaw. And this was when he was a pup. I don't think he'd do that now. Hey, let's pause for just a minute, man.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back again. Sorry, guys, I had to take a pee break. I don't drink beer very often anymore, and so it like runs right through me. So it's good though, man.
Oh,
when you
it's
don't have
great.
it for a while, shoot.
Man, it's good catching up and having
just
some
having
beers.
having a beer, and I've been drinking. If I'm drinking, I don't drink that much anymore, but when I do, I'll do whiskey, and I'll like splash a little bit of Coke in it, just to take that harshness out, because I'm a sissy.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna get emails from people like, "Oh, you gotta drink like a real man."
Yeah.
But
you gotta have haters everywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you do. So
No.
Adam Grinda called. I think he's trying to reschedule the podcast on me, man.
Oh, that's
So,
not good.
Should we call him back live? Let's call him back
let's call
live.
him back.
See what he's doing here.
Tell him I'll
'Cause
cover for him.
We were just talking about him.
Adam.
And
Call me
Grinda,
back within 6 hours.
Hey,
buddy, you are literally being recorded live on the podcast right now, because you called me, and Steve Johnson's here recording, and I saw I missed your call, so we called you.
Oh, dude.
So
You could have brought me. We could have 3 dirtbags on one podcast.
I know,
right?
man. We were just
All
talking
three of
about
us.
that. How cool would it be if we had all 3 of us on?
Yeah, I'm not good. I'm not good enough looking, so that's good.
That's what's
Am I
great
really
about
on
my
the
show.
podcast?
Yeah, you're really on the podcast, man. And,
you're live, dude.
And that's what's good
Go to
about.
Elite Hunt Club and buy tickets. There's my shameless plug.
He's always plugging, man. I love it. What's up? Were you calling to
Nobody just
cancel?
wants to kill a cat.
Who wants
No,
to?
I'm not trying to cancel. My wife's trying to kill a cat because you killed that cat. I'm like, oh, look at my buddy. And she's like,
Oh,
bitch,
so
right?
now it's her turn, huh? Dude, I
Yeah,
get it.
and
It's
so-
lion season, man. What's your schedule
Yeah.
looking like? Well, let's figure this out.
can I do the podcast Saturday afternoon possibly? If not, I'll drive over Monday or Tuesday.
Okay, so Saturday my girls are doing a basketball game. I don't know what time. I'll have to get back to you on that, but I'm here Monday and Tuesday, so we're
Okay,
gonna make her
worst
happen.
case, we'll do it there.
If I have
Yeah,
to, I will
but-
drive up to Bonner's Ferry, and I'll bring Steve. He'll hold you down, put the microphone in your face, and we're gonna record.
That's
Hell
great,
yeah.
'cause I got to face the radio. Cool. All right. Well, everyone have a great night. I'm going to go make the Army some spaghetti, and I'll let you know what the hunt looks like, dude.
Yeah, keep me posted, man. Good luck to Tana. Tell her we say good luck, and they're running heavy today. My buddy got 3 of them today, so go get them.
Good.
All right,
All
brother.
right. See ya. Also, Stevie, screw you. Later.
See you, Adam.
See you, dude.
Man, you can't help but love that dude.
Oh, man. Dude, me and him, like, when we were young, we would go get just blasted drunk at the bars.
I don't know if he wants people knowing that.
Oh, he don't care.
No, I know. He's
Adam
talked
doesn't
about
have
it.
secrets.
No, I know. That's what that again. Why I like dudes like you and Adam is like the level of authenticity that takes place when we have these conversations. You know how when you listen to a lot of hunting shows out there, or just any kind of podcast, man, there's like this. You could tell that there's this wall that people put up, and it's like it's not like they're purposely trying to be phony,
Right.
But the protective wall of like I'm not going to really show who I really am kind of thing comes out in a lot. They're really formal, it's not like a normal like what
They're walking on eggshells.
Exactly, man. And when I have people on my show, I want them to feel like we're just hanging out, sitting around a fire.
Right.
And having a normal conversation.
We're drinking beers.
We're
We're hanging out.
Yeah.
And we're bullshitting.
We're drinking this Panther Piss Coors
And if you don't
Light,
like
and
it,
I love it.
go listen to something else.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's just where I think authenticity comes from. And honestly, I think that's where people learn and grow from the most is from those like real honest conversations. And the podcasts that do really well are the ones that are like look at Joe Rogan. You can't fake the way Joe Rogan is on a pod. Like he's the same guy. You cannot be phony and have that much time on a podcast and I think he described that one time, but there's others out there too, and I'm totally drawing a blank on who it is. I'll give you another great one. Dirk, my buddy Dirk from Phelps. He was just on the show. When like he does his YouTube videos, he goes out and he's been doing it for years, man. And the reason why I like him is because he's super entertaining. He's got a great sense of humor or whatever. But the thing is he's the same guy off that camera that he is on the camera, right? He's like the same guy. And that's what I always look for in this show.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, in person, he's Dirk.
Yeah. He's still the same guy. Yeah, he's still the same guy that you see on YouTube.
Right.
And some of those videos, I was looking at his YouTube channel. I mean, he's got tens of thousands of downloads on this thing. Mm-hmm. And but yeah, he's just the same dude that he is off that or on that camera as he is off the camera. And so same with people like Adam and all those people. It's just cool. I just like that aspect of it.
That's the people I like to talk to.
And I want to dig into that with you. And like what tell me again the name of what your podcast is going to
THF.
THF. So trapping, hunting, fishing.
Yep.
And talk to us a little bit about like what trapping is to you and what you do trapping wise.
I just don't think people understand trapping fully. And I think it gets a lot of negative. I don't know how to say this right. I think it just gets a lot of people don't understand it. And because they don't understand it, they hate it. They don't just accept it. It's kind of a thing that's just, it's not hunting, it's not harvesting, it's just being cruel to animals.
Yeah.
And I don't think people understand like the mentality of trappers, period. Like there's a lot of people that do, but I don't think people fully understand like if we got rid of if trapping just disappeared altogether, like how messed up things would get with beavers, otters.
Well, yeah, and it's
like wolves.
I was just gonna say when you put it into the perception of wolves, trapping wolves is by far the most effective way to manage wolves. That hunters don't even. It would be hard to call hunting wolves a close second to the ability for a trapper to get out there and actually put some serious numbers on the ground. Mm-hmm. Would you agree?
Yeah.
And so to the point that you were just
trapper.
A good trapper, like a
yeah.
a Justin Webb level type trapper, right? Mm-hmm. So and a lot of the dudes that are really good trappers are the dudes you never hear of. They don't have Instagrams and whatnot. And so I'm interested in what you're going to talk about with that, because I think you're right. People, there's a saying in like the sales world, a confused mind says no.
Right.
It's the same when we're presenting something to the non-hunter or the non-trapper, that the perception can easily be, because let's face it, there is a certain level of brutality that comes with trapping.
Absolutely.
And it's just like that with hunting.
You can't hide any of that.
Yeah, you can't hide it. There's a level of brutality that comes into hunting. You saw that video of me saucing that mountain lion out of that tree and how it fell and rolled down the hill. That's brutal stuff. But that cat was like a 5-year-old lion that had an elk kill 300 yards down the mountain, which is why he wasn't going very far. He had a kill. Mm-hmm. And he does that multiple times a month. And so the animals that were saved by taking out that big, mature, in his prime type lion, my dog's going crazy over there.
He's having a ball with his ball.
Yeah, he must have found a toy. Anyway, it's brutal business, but it's a necessary business, and that's how I view trapping. The issue that comes out of trapping is people have some trappers don't think about what some of that visual looks like when they post it on Facebook, of like a coyote in a trap in the circle of death going crazy, scared out of its mind, while the trapper is taking video of it before he puts that coyote down.
Right.
And to the non-hunter or to the non-outdoors person sitting in a big city somewhere, they see that, and to them it looks like Fido, and it's going nuts, panicking, scared out of its mind, yelping and hollering and hooting, and that trapper's there and then walks up to it and puts a bullet in its head. That is really disturbing to people that don't do this life, and that's where trapping gets a bad name.
I think some of that stuff probably shouldn't be on. It's just like when you shoot an elk or a deer or your mountain lion. There's a good way of taking and photographing that or videoing that without the brutality.
Yeah.
And just showcasing the animal in its life.
And
just like presenting it in a good way.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%.
Not everything has to end up on social media.
It doesn't.
And
if you want to, you don't have to show that stuff.
You don't have to.
You can take a really nice picture of it all cleaned up and present it in a way that's presentable to anybody.
Yeah. Like you saw that picture of that shot I took on that cat and the whole thing.
Yeah.
I would not post that whole thing. I would post the first couple of seconds of that to kind of just show the story or whatever.
Yeah.
But I would not post the aftermath of that and the hounds going crazy and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's people that, like, even here locally that live amongst that wouldn't understand. They would. I've already had some negative comments from people after I posted that are like, "Oh, why wouldn't you just take a picture of that beautiful animal instead of taking it out," kind of thing. But they also, the lions don't post how brutal their kills are on elk calves in the spring, for example.
And neither does National Geographic.
National Geographic, they promote these animals as if they're just, teddy bears or whatever. But I just think that we, as like a hunting, trapping, fishing community, need to be cognizant as to what we are putting out, and just keep in mind, like, it's just as cool to post the aftermath as it is the action of it, because that's what the action of it is what people don't understand.
And that's what turns it off.
Yeah.
Like you could have somebody, like you're saying, in New York that isn't either way and sees a picture presented the right way and is like, okay, yeah, I can. And you, here.
Do you want to go let him in that door there, and he'll leave us alone
I'll be back.
for life? Okay, just only because you're on that side. Yeah. But the dog. So my girls just got home from basketball practice, and he gets really excited.
He got Western at the Western.
Oh man, he will flat run you down, man. So anyway, I don't know. I don't know how we got on that topic. Other than we're talking about
it'd just be cool to start seeing some of that. Just get more on the just seeing more content out there.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of hunters don't realize like how much trapping can up their game in the hunting world by reading sign and learning to read sign and setting sets, because it's not like you just go out and you find a spot and you set.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's trails, there's things on the bank, like a muskrat might bring some green weeds up out of the lake and just drop them in a spot.
Yeah.
Feed pile. You know, beavers do that. There's just a mink trail, like noticing how a mink runs down the river and how it uses the banks and the river and the undercuts and you know how it's really cool when you start trapping and you start doing it and you start noticing all the little details, how much that really ups your game.
Yeah.
With elk or deer, or bears, you know, on a bigger scale.
Yeah.
Like noticing sign, because then you go from driving down the road to get to a spot, and you're driving down the road and you're like, oh, there's a fresh trail coming off the bank right there. It looks like a herd of elk came off here and dumped into this drainage.
Yeah.
And everybody's been passing it all day.
Yeah.
Or you see a leaf in the road and that stops you, and you, well, why is there this one green leaf right here in the middle of the road? You get out and there's a bear track. Bear was up here eating huckleberries and
heard you coming.
Heard us coming, and he had a little bit of that in his mouth, and he dropped a leaf out of his mouth on the road, and he's down over the bank, and you look, and there's a bear track in the road.
Yeah.
You know, just subtle things that you
that's
start
true,
picking
man.
up on.
That's a good point.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like, it really, I started opening my eyes a lot more to that stuff after I got really into trapping.
Really?
Yeah. So you don't pass as much anymore.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's funny, I've had this discussion recently with a couple of guys, but like there's this one guy I was actually lion hunting with. He was talking about, you know, he's a big time shed hunter, right? And for me, shed hunting is like, if I find a shed, cool. While I'm hunting, while I'm doing something else, I don't actively go out and shed hunt. It doesn't do it for me, and it never will. And so, but this guy was talking about how, you know, how much he's into it and how much it teaches him as to where these animals are. And he was like, man, if you're finding elk sheds, that's where those elk are going to be rutting. And I always thought that like the elk are down in kind of that winter range when they're dropping more. And he was telling me, he's like, no, man, where I find elk sheds, that's where I end up hunting, and you just learn so much about the animals when you go out and do that, and that makes sense too. But I imagine like trapping would be next level off of that, and so
it's unreal, man.
Because
I mean, even if you you don't have to run a 100-mile line. You don't have to run a 50-mile line. You could run a 10-mile line. You could run it the length of your driveway. Mm-hmm. Set a few traps out and just start learning like what you're trapping for, their habits, and what those things, how you can put all those things together to get them in a trap.
What are you actively trapping right now?
I'm not right now. I did a lot in November this year for beaver and mink, and I was doing some ermine trapping with my son. But I pulled everything because where I was trapping, I got to drive from the house up over the mountain, and we got quite a bit of snow.
So you pulled those tracks.
I did pull all that. I think Sunday I'm going to go down to the marina close to the house. They're having some otter issues again. And I looked at the quota the other day because Idaho, they have a quota for otters. And I think that you can get like 49 or something like that a year for the panhandle. And I think there's 17 left in it. So you're allowed 3 a person.
And they're just right down there on Ponderay, huh?
Yeah.
Cool.
So I go down there and...
Yeah, that would be cool.
But they
check it.
They destroy the docks.
Oh, yeah. They destroy a lot. You know, an otter is my mascot for my company.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say it was your spirit animal or something.
No, it's my company mascot because of how cute they are. See, there's an otter fur right there for my buddy AJ
nice
McAvetti.
Adam, the next time you need an otter, Jim's got one hanging up in his studio. You better not show him that when he comes.
That one was a gift. I wouldn't give that one away. but I know where he can get more of them.
Yeah,
so.
he came to the house and he took 3 of mine.
Nice.
But it's cool.
I want people, before we wrap this up, I want people to hear some of your elk calling, man.
Yeah.
Is there a way?
What do we want to talk? Like, how do you want to do it?
Like, first of all, you know that thing you do that was so effective when we went out. That it's like that moany grunt thing, and I don't even think you use a reed for it.
I don't.
Yeah. I want to hear. Do it right. Try to back up into the chair. Yeah. Try to make sure. I'll make sure it's picking up. Yeah, that, man. So if you guys listening, will you do it again? Because I want to talk real. Hold on. So whatever that is, that little oof, 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 elk freaking love it. Bulls love that. Yeah. And we got so many responses off that. Okay, do it again for everybody. Again, this is without a reed in your mouth. And it's all that is, guys, that are listening, what we found out, or what I found out by listening to that, is it's like you've got this bull, he's like frustrated. He's a little frustrated, whether he can't find cows or if he knows there's another bull in the area, and he's a little upset about it. And so it's like he's complaining. That's kind of what I
started. So I got kind of a cool story for this year. If you want to hear it.
Yeah.
You got time?
Let's do it.
Okay, so we were driving to a spot this year, and my buddy was with me, and my brother Robert, and he goes, I heard it's impossible to call a herd bull in. Mm-hmm. And I go, why do you say that? And he's like, well, I just hear everybody talk about that you just can't call a herd bull in.
Yeah.
Which, in some respects, I think it's a difficult bull to call in. But I think it's the scenario and how you play it. If that bull, like, if I'm up there on the road and I call and I hear cows, or I hear that bull just making noises like he's tending cows, and he's like, hey, stay away from me. Or, yeah, I'm here, but don't come any close. The more you do it, the more you pick up on that vibe that they give off. So we're driving to this spot, and he literally just said that to me, and we get to this spot, park the truck, get out. We're sitting there for about 45 minutes or so, and I do a bugle, and I get a response back. And then he responds again, but this time he wasn't talking to me.
Okay.
He was pointed the other direction, and he was kind of just, I'll kind of show you.
Yeah, show us what he was doing there.
So when he responded back the second time, it was more like this.
Okay.
And to me, that's a bull with cows.
Try to get a little closer to that mic with your mouth, not with
my mouth.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
So to me, that's a bull tending cows, or he bugled to respond to me. It was the locator bugle, just.
Yep.
And then after that, this was like 5 minutes. Usually I'll wait a little bit. About 5 minutes goes by, and he starts doing these chuckles.
Just like you were just doing on the mic?
Just real soft, like. And to me, that's just a bull talking to cows. So I was instantly thinking, okay, this bull's got cows, no cow calls. I will not cow call.
Oh, gotcha.
I will not talk, because the problem that I've seen a lot, especially up here in North Idaho, as soon as you start cow calling and everybody says, oh, yeah, Pete, that bull, we started calling and he rounded his cows up and took off. I don't think that's what happened. Yeah. I think the cow
rounded
him up.
Yeah.
She's like, well, you ain't breeding with her. Yeah. That's my guy.
Yeah.
And she's the one taking him off.
Well, yeah.
So then as they're walking off, he'll start doing that chuckling or that frustrated, like, where are we going? This is perfect. I want to stay here. And they just keep going. And he's more bugling, like, stop, come back. So you start hearing that stuff, and it's like, okay, this bull probably got cows. So made a game plan, hike down to the bottom, start hiking up to him, get within, I'd say probably 50 yards or so from that spot, and I hear the weakest bugle ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's a dude. I looked straight at my buddy. I'm like, that is a dude.
Another
And I'm
hunter,
like,
you
why
mean?
the hell would he come down from that road? Why wouldn't he just circle around? You know, I don't have no problem with people coming in on an elk if they think that's an elk. And I
Yeah.
wasn't calling the whole time. So it's like, I can't. But I'm just like frustrated. I'm like, the wind is blowing downhill super hard right at us.
Uh-huh.
And we hiked probably 3 miles or so to get into position. And then we get there and I'm like, I hear this bugle and I'm just like, fuck, dude. So I put my head down and they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, nope, that was a freaking person, dude. So we start hiking up the hill. I got my head down. I started packing this Montana decoy with me. You just pop it out of behind your back.
Yeah.
And it folds out and you got an elk.
Yeah, I've seen those.
So we're hiking up the hill. I got my head down and I hear brush breaking and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I look up and there's a raghorn bull.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so instantly I just whipped that decoy out and he kind of looks at me weird and I just stopped and I'm just holding that decoy up and he looks at me and he kind of walks off to the side down the hill. So like, okay, well the wind's still good. That's not the bull we heard. So that must be the bull I thought was a hunter. Mm-hmm. I could have sworn all day long it was the worst bugle I've ever heard, Jim. Like, so we side hill over, get behind this log, and I'm still holding this decoy out in front of me, and this group of mule deer comes up out of the woods, and they feed right in front of us, and I'm still holding this decoy out. I've got my brother and my friend right behind me. I'm holding the decoy straight out in front of me, and these mule deer, 10 yards, no shit.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just looking at me, and they go back to feeding.
Huh.
They look over at me, they go back to feeding. And they just kind of meandered right up the hill and up out of sight. And then so as soon as they got out of sight, still holding the decoy in one hand, and I do kind of like a little bit of a locator bugle, chuckle.
Will you do your locator bugle for people?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I always like your locator bugle.
Yeah.
So everybody listening, this is what you call a locator bugle. Yep. That little back thing you do,
Yeah.
I like that. I think I started doing that, and I feel like I get more responses with it
It's
or
just
something.
that. Ooh,
Yeah.
just
It's almost like a
from down
glunk at
deep.
the end
Yeah.
of it. Yeah. It sounds good. It really sounds good on the mountain.
So I do that, and here comes something through the brush, and it's that raghorn bull again. And I let him kind of come up to us, and I see another bull behind him coming. And my buddy and my brother, they go to full draw, and the little raghorn kind of he kind of cuts left and goes down the hill towards the cows. There was a group of cows down on our right side, and then out stops, like, I don't know, it's probably like a 330-inch 6x6.
Really?
Which I'm guessing is the herd bull.
Oh,
The
yeah.
cows are right there. We got a raghorn that's kind of the
Jeez.
satellite bull, and he's probably been pestering back and forth a little bit, and then out steps Mondo. And, yeah, my brother, he took a shot at him and shot over his back.
Oh, wow.
But
Dang.
it was just...
How far away was he, you think?
He was 40 yards.
40 yards or so?
yards.
Gotcha.
I think Robert shot for 30. And he just shot he shot for 50. He thought he was 50.
And it went right over his back.
Right over his back.
Must have been a little closer.
Yeah, just a little closer. But
Wow.
it was just kind of cool, like the way that scenario played out. We were on the other side, heard him, got down. Not a lot of calling at all the way up there. And that one time I heard the bugle I thought was the hunter, I still never called. And then we got within that 50 or 40 yards of the whole group elk. And I did that one bugle and everything happened. But it was just like, I don't know, it was a lot of fun. This year was a good time.
One of the videos you should do when you get your YouTube thing going is showing people your calls, because there's a lot of really good callers out there, but there's only a few of them that like really sound like elk. Like not the whole typical, everybody could do that sound. It's the difference between knowing how to bugle and knowing how to communicate with an elk. And that's what you do really well. And so I think, I mean, this is just the opinion of one simple-minded bastard like myself, but you should do like some how-to on your calls and show people how you're calling, because it really works. It really is an effective way. I learned a lot, and I considered myself a really good caller. Not a really good caller, but I was a proficient caller. And then when you and I went, I was like, man, Steve is a really good, like, he's a good communicator, not just a good caller. You're a good communicator, and that's the difference. It's like somebody could play chopsticks on the piano.
Yeah.
Or they could learn how to play it and play music, right?
Well, there's so many subtle things that bulls do that people don't. I hardly ever hear people talk about bulls cow calling.
I know.
Have you heard that?
Oh, absolutely,
Like,
I have. Yeah.
Here's one for you guys right here. This is one of my favorite when they're close.
Uh-huh.
Especially with the single bull, a bull that doesn't have cows.
Oh, okay.
So
like
you're
a satellite
playing it
bull
up,
or something?
And he's like,
Or early
he's hanging
season?
up out at that 70, 80 yards,
Mhm.
and you're like, you just can't get him to pull. You're trying, you're doing the cow calling and the whole herd sequence, whatever you want to call it, This call can be a deal breaker, and I don't hear a lot of people, but here, I'll do it.
Okay,
right
I'm really
here.
excited
Here
to
we
hear
go.
this one.
Are you getting that?
Yeah, try. Yeah, there you go.
Like,
sounds so good.
That will freaking turn them around, man. If they're hung up.
So you're almost, it almost sounds like a bird.
So I learned this
Chirping in
with
the morning.
Tyler. It does. It's just like, it's just cow calls over and over. Just, they sound just like this when they're doing it.
And I've heard them. Yeah,
And
I've
it's
heard them
that
do
light.
that.
It's
yeah,
very
it's
light.
super light. I've heard them. You know where I first heard that was at that elk ranch in Post Falls, Idaho. You know that it's like right at the state line there with Washington.
Yeah.
You go up there and you take some carrots out, and they'll start doing that sound. That's where I first heard a bull do that, like 10 years ago.
So if you do that sound coupled with some glunking, like,
Let me hear your glunking. How are you doing that glunking sound? Is that with your tongue?
yeah, just diaphragm
Okay.
and tongue, but yeah.
That sounds pretty damn good. That's way better than the old poem. He doesn't even have a diaphragm doing that. It's crazy. That's fantastic.
Sometimes that's just like the deal breaker for
Yeah.
you. But the first time I heard that, I was with Tyler Oakes and Jacob Denham. And Jacob was cow calling. And I was set up. Tyler and I were both set up out in front of him.
Uh-huh.
I was downhill to the right. The wind was pulling down. It was evening. Thermals were dropping. And this bull hooked on my right side just on the other side of a fir tree. So, I could have taken an arrow and just poked him through the tree, but I didn't have a shot through the tree. And I heard that bull come into Jacob, because Jacob was just, you know how they do their cow calling sequence?
Yeah.
They got the lanyard, and it's just like,
Oh, yeah. It sounds like a whole herd up there.
yeah, it's just nuts. It's like
Yeah.
out of this world cow calling. They were doing that, and that bull just came in.
Really?
But it was so light, if he was at 20 yards, I wouldn't have heard him.
Yeah, yeah.
But he was 5 feet.
Oh, wow.
And I heard that, and I started doing that with in the case where it's a satellite bull listening to a bull run cows, and you're breaking brush and you're going
Wow,
around, and
interesting.
you're like, so I kind of flipped that. Excuse me. I kind of flipped that into my calling sequence now with the bull that doesn't have cows yet, and it just adds that realistic factor into it.
Yeah,
I think.
I almost think we shouldn't have done that on the podcast, because now everybody's going to try it, and I want to be like the only one that's out there
Right?
trying.
I like seeing people succeed. I get a kick
I'm
out of
kidding.
it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something I've never really heard a lot of people talk about.
Yeah.
And that's one of my tricks.
That is a super secret trick, and I really am glad you shared that, because I think it works. I mean, I've hunted with some great collars, but I think, again, I don't mean to sound like a broken record. You're like the best communicator of bulls, or with bulls, that I've ever hunted with. And it's not just that cookie cutter stuff that you're doing out there. And also like the raking that you do when you're taking like big ass logs and just smashing, bam, making all sorts of ruckus.
Well, you
stomping
think,
your feet.
How many times have you been up there in the morning and you blow a bugle and you get a bull going, and then the cows get up and they start walking around? I mean, you could hear it from 200 yards away.
Oh, yeah. They're
so
so
if you're
loud.
sitting there and you're not making any noise at all, and you're trying to sneak in on them, but you're acting like you're this big badass,
They know better.
like they know way better.
Yeah.
And these elk get a lot of pressure up here.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
they're not dumb.
That area we've hunted has gotten increasingly
It gets
way
hammered.
more. Yeah. It used to be, dude, I think back in the day, before we even knew each other, it was like you and I were the only 2 or 3 guys in that area hunting elk.
Probably. Yeah.
You know, and I mean, not really. There was more than that, but there's a couple of drainages that you and I both know. And I think we've been hunting those a long time. That 100-year wallow one. Man, I called the growliest bull out of there one time, and I told you that story already. But anyway, well, I'm really excited that you're going to start this podcast and do these videos and stuff like that, because there's a lot you can offer to help people learn this lifestyle and meshing the three together. You know, trapping, hunting, fishing.
Yeah.
And so I think you and I, we have a destiny on the river.
Yeah.
We have a date with destiny. Is that what you say?
Yeah, date with destiny.
Yeah, date with destiny. A date
It
with
works for
destiny
us.
with Steve Johnson
Yeah.
and Jim, the fat guy. We're gonna meet up on the river and we're gonna catch some fish and film it.
Yeah.
And then let's do that hunt I was telling you about. Without giving away the area,
Right.
but you and I, we should
Let's
go
go.
film a couple days
Oh,
up
yeah.
there in September. So
Yeah, I'm going to dedicate a lot of time to filming this September for sure.
Heck
so
yeah, man.
I'd like to just show some of that off-the-wall stuff we do,
yeah,
that I don't think really gets a lot of talk out there.
Yeah.
It's like, and maybe that's a good thing, but I just enjoy helping people out. I do. I like seeing success and
Yeah, you're a very selfless hunter, because that's you always kind of put other people first, and you don't always have to do that, But you are a selfless hunter. I want to come up back to that camp, man.
yeah.
We had a good time on that.
You're always welcome, man.
Yeah, that's a
That night we were doing the calling. We took off.
Yeah.
And,
started calling
got
the
the
wolves. Oh yeah, those wolves.
that was fun.
That was a good
lot
time.
of fun.
That was a really good time. I enjoyed the heck out of it. So, tell everybody where they could find you on like social media and stuff.
So my Instagram is Stevie_35. My Facebook is Steven Johnson. It's STEPHEN Johnson. And I don't have anything out for THF yet. I'm planning on February 1st. I actually have one podcast recorded. And then I need to pick Jim's brain here after the show about getting some other guys on. So, but yeah, hopefully get you guys over there and
Heck yeah.
be great.
Let's do it. So the podcast, or I'm sorry, the Instagram will be in the show notes. Again, Stevie, it's Steve with 2 E's on the end there, _35. Why 35? What is significant?
That's how old I am right now.
You're
So
only
I just-
35?
I was like, yeah, I'm a real
Holy crap, man. I feel old.
out of the box kind of thinker. So
Yeah. Well, it works.
actually, so you were telling me you're like, dude, you need to get back on Instagram.
I know you used to have a great Instagram page. What was it,
And I
like
couldn't-
pitching streamers
well,
or something?
it was pitching streamers, and
Yeah.
I can't. For some reason, I cannot figure out for the life of me how to get back into that account.
I know
Like, I
exactly
need-
how you feel. I've
So-
got one too.
And so I said, all right, well, I guess I'll start another one. You and Adam were like, Adam was like, dude, you need to get back on. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's like when you got rid of your Instagram, it's like you fell off the face of the earth.
that's
I thought
what a
you-
lot of people
I
said.
thought you got abducted by aliens or something.
Yeah.
And But yeah, I have one too, man. An old Instagram. I think it's just my name, Jim Huntsman or something. I cannot get rid of it. I was trying to get into it so I can delete it. And because of the show, a bunch of people have gone there and followed this page, and there's like a picture of me catching a fish or something. That's all it is, but I can't get rid of it. I don't know how to do that. But your Instagram will be in the show notes. When did you say the podcast is going to be live?
The podcast will launch February 1st.
February 1st. Okay. Cool. So everybody kind of keep your eyes peeled for that, and definitely give. Steve is worth following. He's a selfless and effective hunter that really knows how to communicate with elk, and just is a pile of information about anything woodsmanship, hunting, trapping, fishing. I caught my first. Well, I'm not going to say that on the show. That's a secret fishing situation, but I caught a hell of a fish because of Steve.
Yeah. Nice rainbow.
Yeah, nice rainbow. Well, cool, man. Thanks for coming up here and joining me on this.
Thanks for having me. This has been a blast.
It's great having somebody live and in person, man. I really do prefer it that way. If I had the money, everybody would fly here and come on the show and do it that way.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's
way
just
better. Like over the phone, you're like, you can't read the body language.
Yeah, it's a little different.
It's just like different.
I mean, they work. They're good, but
Skype and Zoom works kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, this stuff's way better. Takes the formality out of it.
Right.
So, well, thanks again, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to do in the year 2025. And thank you all for tuning in. Again, thanks for our the sponsors on the show. I want to thank Barnes Bullets. I want to thank VP Archery, Vantage Point Archery. Definitely give them a check or check them out. Phelps Game Calls, Huntsman 10 for 10% off at Phelps Game Calls. Oh, that's the same promo code, by the way, for Vantage Point Archery is Huntsman 10. Use that. Thank you to Silencer Central. And welcome aboard to Loophole Optics. I am really excited about this sponsor because I've been a big fan of Loophole and their American-made products for a very long time. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. We'll talk soon. And thanks again, Steve.
Thanks for having me.
You made it! That's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure you're following us on Instagram at The Western Huntsman and write us a good review at Apple Podcasts. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Stay Western, and I'll see you on